Salvete omnes. Today we will be learning from Chapter 12 of Wheelock, which includes the perfect active system of verbs. As you recall from when we learned about the future and imperfect tenses, Latin only has 6 verb tenses. These tenses are organized into 2 systems. We have already learned all of the tenses in the present system: present tense, imperfect tense, and future tense. Today we will be learning the 3 tenses of the perfect system: the perfect tense, the pluperfect tense, and the future perfect tense. As you will soon see, each system has its own forms and rules, which makes it extremely important that you are memorizing your principal parts alongside the meanings of verbs. As you all know by now, every verb has 4 principal parts. The tenses we have learned so far are all formed off of the first 2 principal parts, which are the first person singular present, active indicative, and the present infinitive. The forms of the perfect system are all formed from the perfect stem, which comes from the 3rd principal part, which is the first person singular perfect active indicative. From this point forward, you will be responsible for knowing these 3 principal parts for all verbs. The perfect tense is the tense you use when you want to talk in the simple past tense. To form a verb in the perfect tense, you add the perfect tense personal endings to the perfect stem. To form the perfect stem, take the 3rd principal part and chop off the long I. You then add the perfect personal endings. The first person singular ending is long I. The 2nd person singular perfect ending is isti. The 3rd person singular perfect ending is eat. The 1st person plural perfect ending is imus. The 2nd person plural perfect ending is istis. And the 3rd person plural ending is erunt. Let's look at this with the example of laudo, laudari, laudavi. The perfect stem of laudo, laudari is lauda. Therefore, the perfect forms of laudo, laudari, laudavi are laudavi in the 1st person singular, laudavisti in the 2nd person singular, laudavit in the 3rd person singular, laudavimus in the 1st person plural, laudavistis in the 2nd person plural, and laudaverunt in the 3rd person plural. One key thing to note is that sometimes the Romans contracted the 3rd person plural of the perfect to ere, so the 3rd person plural could be laudaverunt or laudavere. As I mentioned before, the perfect is translated as a simple past. That is because it refers to an action that has already been completed. Therefore, the perfect of laudo would be translated as I praised, you praised, etc. Let's do another example, this time with the 3rd declension verb ago, agere, eggi. The perfect stem of the verb is egg. The 1st person singular is eggi, the 2nd person singular is egisti, the 3rd person singular is egit, the 1st person plural is egimus, the 2nd person plural is egisti, and the 3rd person plural is agerunt or agere. It will be translated as I did, you did, etc. The next tense in the perfect system is the pluperfect tense. The pluperfect tense is used to indicate actions that have been completed in the distant past, and is sometimes called the past perfect tense. Forming a verb in the pluperfect tense is easy. Just add the imperfect forms of sum to the perfect stem. In our example of laudo, laudare, the forms would be as follows: laudaveram in the 1st person singular, laudaveras in the 2nd person singular, laudaverat in the 3rd person singular, laudaveramus in the 1st person plural, laudaveratis in the 2nd person plural, and laudaverant in the 3rd person plural. Because this tense indicates actions that have been completed in the distant past, it is usually translated as had blanked. With the example of laudo, this would be I had praised, you had praised, etc. The final tense in the perfect system is the future perfect tense. The future perfect tense indicates actions that will have been completed at some future point. Forming a verb in the future perfect tense is also easy. Just add the future forms of sum to the perfect stem. The only exception to this rule is in the third person plural, where the future perfect ending is erint, not erunt, in order to distinguish it from the perfect third person plural. In our example of laudo, laudare, laudavi, the future perfect forms are laudawero in the first person singular, laudaweris in the second person singular, laudawerit in the third person singular, laudawerimus in the first person plural, laudaweritis in the second person plural, laudawerint in the third person plural. Because this tense indicates an action that will have been completed at some future point, it is translated as will have blanked. For laudo, this is I will have praised, you will have praised, etc. One other concept that is introduced in this chapter is the synopsis. To test your ability to conjugate verbs completely, I may sometimes ask you to produce a synopsis of a verb. This is just a verb conjugated in a specified person and number, in lieu of writing out all the verb's forms. On your screen now, you can see a synopsis of laudo, laudare, laudavi in the first person plural. This chapter's passage was written by Pliny the Younger, or Gaius Plinius Caecilius Secundus. He was born in 61 AD and died around 113 AD. He was a Roman lawyer, author, and magistrate. He is most well known for his letters, many of which still survive today. These are remarkable because we have some addressed to reigning emperors, like the one that asks the emperor how best to deal with the Christians. Others are addressed to famous figures, including the historian Tacitus. These letters are important because not only Pliny the Younger, but also his uncle, Pliny the Elder, witnessed the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Pliny the Elder perished in the eruption, but the Younger survived to recount the tales of it. The letters we have from him about this event are in response to Tacitus's request for more information on the eruption for his book of history. That is all for this chapter. Be sure to start working on your worksheet for this chapter. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to email me. Valete omnes.